Hello and welcome to the Joe Ligato Show. I'm your host, Dr. Joe Ligato, and today we're going to be reviewing some updates on the Judeo-Islamic War of 2023, which this channel believes is going to broaden into a wider conflict. There is a ton of evidence supporting that. This is looking like a religious war, a war of ethnic, racial supremacy. This is looking like a genocidal war. So let's look at some of the things that are being said right now. And so here we have a tweet from Michael Tracy. And this is Michael Tracy talking about Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, his words. And so Netanyahu is declaring invasion. And he says, "You must remember what Amalek has done to you, says our holy Bible." Okay. And so this is what is supposed to be done in response to Amalek. 1 Samuel 15:30. "Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel," and I can't say that last word, but you could see clearly here where they feel like they get the legitimacy from when it comes to completely wiping Gaza off the face of the earth. And so we can just listen to this to make sure what I just said is correct.
"You must remember what Amalek has done to you," says our Holy Bible. And we do remember, and we are fighting. Our brave troops and combatants who are now in Gaza or around Gaza and in all other regions in Israel are joining this chain of Jewish heroes, a chain that has started 3,000 years ago from Joshua ben Nun until the heroes of 1948, the Six-Day War, the 73 October War, and all other wars in this country. Our hero troops, they have one supreme main goal: to completely defeat the murderous enemy and to guarantee our existence in this country. We've always said, never again. Never again is now.
Okay, so they're talking about 3,000 years of history. They're talking about Amalek. And so Michael Tracy's summary here is extremely accurate about what they plan on doing to the people of Gaza. And we know this is the case because they pretend like this is just to get rid of Hamas, but they are actually also attacking and murdering people in West Bank where Hamas has zero influence. And it is run by the Fatah, Palestinian Liberation Organization or something, I think it's called PLO. And so we can clearly see that their end goal isn't to eliminate Hamas alone, it is to eliminate the entire Palestinian people. And not only is the Western world watching and just supporting it in a lot of cases instead of going against that or even just being neutral, but even the Islamic world is really not doing anything yet. Though I think they're going to be pressured by their people to do things pretty soon. We are very, very, very close to World War III. So let's see what else is being said here. Haaretz, which is a Israeli news agency. We have a post by Jackson Hinkle here, who is the most influential person on Twitter right now. And Haaretz is saying that their investigation exposes all the Israeli lies from October 7th, and it is just like Jackson Hinkle and myself have predicted. There is a confirmed number of dead, which is 900, not nearly 2,000. And so that's about what you'd expect. I mean, countries do tend to exaggerate the numbers. I'm not surprised by that. Okay, 50% were Israeli soldiers. That's excellent casualty numbers if you are looking for not targeting civilians directly, because even if you are not targeting civilians directly, some are going to get caught in the crossfire. So 50% Israeli soldier rate is I would say pretty good. When you think about how Israel's doing right now, the last updated count I heard was there was something like 7,800 Palestinians dead in Gaza, but they only potentially got 13 confirmed Hamas kills. So just seeing how humane Hamas is when it attacks Israel compared to how inhumane Israel is when it attacks Hamas, it's clear night and day. If you are a person who participates in objective reality, you can see that there are clear good guys and clear bad guys here. The Christian Zionists, baby boomers in America are clearly on the wrong side here, and that is objective reality. And if you disagree with me, it sucks, suck nerd. Most deaths have signs of being dead during tank shelling. Okay, so this is another interesting thing, which we find that Hamas thought that Israel would be more humane than they actually were. So Hamas thought they would be able to escape after doing their attack by taking captives, which I think is fairly reasonable in war. As long as you're not torturing and murdering the captives, you take them captive in order to escape. But what it turned out was the Israeli military seemed to have orders that they were supposed to wipe everyone out no matter how many Israeli casualties. So they were firing tank shells into buildings and murdering their own citizens. Just really inhumane things. We have evidence of that on a variety of different fronts, including the released prisoners who said how humanely Hamas treated them, and the fact that Hamas has been trying to release the rest of the Israeli prisoners, but Israel does not want them back. Hamas was initially trying to release them in exchange for fuel to keep the hospitals running because they didn't want the babies to die in the hospitals from all the carpet bombing that Israel is doing. Israel said no to that, and then Hamas tried to just release them without any conditions, and Israel said no again, apparently. So we see no evidence Hamas burnt any Israelis, but burns occurred from Israeli shelling. So again, it's just so ridiculous that people actually believe Israel at this point. So Israel, their own citizens that were not burnt by Hamas, they were burnt by Israeli tank shelling. So everything that Israel accused Hamas of, it was actually Israel that did that. We see that there were no beheaded babies. It wasn't that 40 was an exaggeration. It was a complete fabrication. It was a complete lie. The filing of Hamas fighter bodies while Israeli soldiers were taken with respect to morgues. Okay, so we saw that numerous times. Prisoners of war tortured if they're captured by Israel, while Hamas has been treating people humanely. And then whenever the prisoners are released, prisoners seem to be in pretty good condition. Number of people Hamas shot, less than 100. Most were settlers with guns on them. Okay, so we see that quite frequently, that Israeli settlers from places like Brooklyn are going to the Holy Land and just evicting Palestinians from their house. And for some reason, the world allows this to occur, and Hamas has shot these people. And I feel no sympathy for the Israeli settlers. Israel has lied about everything while committing a grotesque genocide. Okay. And don't listen to the community note there. No one believes anything community note has to say at this point. The Israeli Defense Force is trying to get their cyber units to push their propaganda, and it's just not working at this point. I saw a recent review where they said United States, Ukraine, Israel are on the forces of light, and the forces of darkness are places like Russia, China, Iran, Palestine, things like that. And they had a poll about who would you rather support, and everyone said the forces of darkness. It was 90% to 10%. So just funny how the Zionists are finally losing the propaganda war. I've been waiting for this for years at this point. So next we see by Iran Observer here, coastal areas of Gazans report that American troops of the Delta Force units are fighting on the ground. This is not confirmed in any way, shape, or form. However, I would certainly not be surprised. America has fought many wars for the Zionists in the past. And as we can see from the current presidential candidates, they are slavishly loyal to Zionism. They will gladly send any Americans, sons and daughters, to go fight and die for Israel. And so this would not surprise me whatsoever. I recently heard a report that if Hezbollah gets involved, Netanyahu has said that he would sic American troops on Lebanon. So we can clearly see who controls America at this point. They are being very overt that they have the mechanisms of power in America to send American troops to fight and die. Luckily, everyone who is a legitimate American troop has already resigned from the American military at this point, and all that's left is the trans community, the furry community, and I guess Israelis, dual citizens. If there's, I don't think they fight those, so I think it's just the trans community and furry community that is in the United States military at this point. Next, we have a spectator index. And so recently, Elon Musk has said he's fine with opening up access to Starlink for Gaza citizens, but they've not gotten a request. And I should mention, it's not just all Gazan citizens. It's actually any internationally recognized humanitarian organizations. I think that would be broadened eventually to everyone. We will see how that goes. But in response, Israel's communication minister says the country will use the available means to prevent Elon Musk from providing internet access to relief groups in Gaza. So Israel is taking on Elon Musk. We'll see how that goes. It would be very nice if, for once, Israel loses a battle, a propaganda battle, which they seem to be losing at this point, and getting Elon Musk, one of the richest people, if not the richest person in the world, on their side would be very nice. Or against them, on our side, would be very nice. And finally, here we have a post from Sprinter on what Colonel McGregor says. McGregor, in the event of a U.S. attack on Iran, Russia will not sit idly by and watch how this country is destroyed. So I am leaning towards the idea that that is true. I think that Russia has invested far too much in Iran and Syria to allow them to fall to the United States. I feel like Russia has gotten very confident from its situation in Ukraine, where, let's be honest, it's not only United States, Western equipment and training, but there's a lot of evidence that former or sometimes current military personnel are acting as mercenaries in the Ukrainian military. And so Russia is very confident right now that it can take on the West. And I just don't think they're going to allow America to do this whack-a-mole strategy. And I've talked about this in some of my earlier videos, but it's been a while, so I'll reiterate, which is that the United States likes to play whack-a-mole. They don't ever completely destroy their enemies. They just like to have enemies all across the world in order to scare their citizens on a regular basis. So at one point, they'll play whack-a-mole with Venezuela and boop Venezuela on the head. Another, it'll be Cuba, or another, it'll be North Korea, or it'll be Iran, or it'll be Russia, or it'll be China, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's been the traditional strategy. However, I think that America has recognized that a turn of their luck has happened, that they can't really just bump them on the head and let them rise again. They have to completely decimate their enemies at this point, because the enemies are forming a coalition. And I think Russia recognizes this, and they don't want a domino effect to happen where, say, a regional power that is strongly in the multipolar bloc like Iran, they don't want them to fall completely. And so it looks like, I would say maybe 70% certainty that Russia would back Iran if Iran got into a all-out war with the United States. I would say that with about 70% certainty. And when I'm talking about things this important, I do like to give like an actual number so you can understand how confident and how hesitant I am that something is going to occur. And the reason I'm saying that is because some indications in the past are that Iran wanted to pop off. Like when Soleimani was assassinated in a third country, which goes against all international norms and laws, it seemed like Iran wanted to go to war at that point. And I think Russia pulled them back from the brink and said, listen, the time isn't right. Let's do this at another time. And I think at this point, if America directly attacked Iran, Russia would say, now is that time, particularly since we have the entire Islamic world behind us. A lot of these Sunni Muslim countries are being very hesitant about this, but I do think that they're going to eventually have to go into the fight for protecting Palestine. We're seeing more and more evidence of this. Erdogan is holding rallies. He's talking about religious wars. He's cutting off ties with Israel. Israel is cutting off ties with Turkey back. And so there's increasing evidence that this is going to escalate into a wider war. And if it does involve Iran, which by all indications, it would involve Iran. I should say, by the way, how do I want to put this? When I said 70% earlier, I should say it's about 70% that United States gets into a direct conflict with Iran over this. And then it's, again, a 70% chance that United States, or it's a 70% chance then that Russia joins in order to stop the United States from defeating Iran completely. So really, it's about a 50% chance at this point. If you multiply the 70% by 70%, you get kind of a coin toss that we're going to get into a world war right now. So let's see how things are going, and let's see what else McGregor has to say here. So if the United States does attack Iran, as some American politicians have long desired, then Russia will not sit back and watch as this country is destroyed. Retired U.S. Army Colonel Douglas McGregor said in an interview with Judging Freedom. Russia is not interested in a war with the United States. It does not want to fight Israel, but this is what can happen here. Moscow will say, you know, we have no choice. We need to support Iran. We cannot allow it to be destroyed. We would like this to not happen, but because of the Americans, it is becoming impossible to stay on the sidelines. Yeah, I don't think the Soleimani assassination, I think it was horrendous, and I think Iran was rightfully outraged. But I do not think it was the right time for Iran to pick a fight with America. And I think Russia pulled them back from the ledge. I think if things popped off, this would absolutely be the right time. Because it seems like so much of the Islamic world is really behind this cause. And it's really shameful right now that the Sunni world is not popping off to the same extent that the Shia world is. Because the Shia world is looking to be defenders of the Islamic faith, while the Sunni world, I mean, their people are certainly outraged about what's going on, but the leadership of those countries are really neutered by the West. And you're really starting to see that the leaders of the Sunni world are only put into position, only allowed to have their position because of America and Israel. Okay? And so they don't really have many strong leaders at this point. I think if things do happen, it's probably not going to be Saudi Arabia. It's probably not going to be Egypt. It's probably not going to be places like Pakistan and Indonesia. They're too far away. It's probably going to be Turkey. If the Sunni world really starts to rally around Palestine, I would say it would be Turkey at this point, that was not in my 2023 bingo card because Turkey is a NATO member. They wanted to join EU. They were, at the very least, fence sitters between the multipolar world and the Western bloc. And they actually screwed over Russia a little bit and other multipolar bloc members after Erdogan got reelected. And so I just was not expecting Turkey to be potentially the major player to push the Islamic world into a major religious war and likely an entire world war. But that is what we're at. That's where we're at. And I just want to keep all of you guys informed. So thank you for watching, and please give us a like on YouTube and Rumble. It does help us in the algorithm. Please subscribe to our channel for more content. We are slowly but surely increasing our subscriber counts on both YouTube and Rumble. Please leave us a comment in the comment box, any questions, concerns, critiques you might have. And thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Bye.